Thanks for tuning in to AMN 571. That's Minnesota's only radio station. I'm Cougar Jeff, and here's...
Critter Bob coming at you like a wild tiger.
Well, you've tuned into News Hour today. We're going to open up with a real doozy of a story coming at us from California. It seems this morning that a demonically possessed body, recently rejuvenated dead body of Dean Martin, has appeared walking around Beverly Hills. Now, we talked to Mr. Martin earlier today over the phone, and he was mostly unintelligible, but what we gleaned from the conversation was that he's surprised at how well he's feeling after being dead for approximately 17 years. Mr. Martin proceeded to serenade us with a wonderful rendition, his newest version of his classic song, That's Amore.
Well, that's great news. You know, I was a big fan of his movies back in the day.
Dean Martin, real stand-up American citizen, American hero. Anyway, more interesting news. We're going to move on with Critter Bob's report.
In the world of entertainment, Bedlam Sonata, the well-known symphonic jazz punk band from Munswick, Middle-earth, will be playing at Guacho's Bar and Breakfast on Tuesday evening. I know that I'm definitely going to be buying tickets. They're only $30 a pop.
That's right. That sounds like a darn good deal. I love Bedlam Sonata, coming at you from Middle-earth. Now, moving on. With a more recent report, we're getting reports from across the country that terrible things have happened. Terrible things are happening at all sorts of places. Somewhere far off, there was some terrible thing that happened. I don't know where exactly, but it was darn terrible.
I heard about a terrible thing.
What was that, Critter Bob?
I don't know yet.
It was just a terrible thing, and that's what you've got to warn yourselves. The fine citizens of Minnesota have got to know that terrible things are happening and will continue to happen throughout the world.
Everywhere.
Everywhere in the world, that's right. Even right here at our fine home in the wonderful country of Minnesota.
And speaking of the country of Minnesota, our Cold War that we've been in with the great nations of Wisconsin and Michigan has suddenly gone hot. Our finest soldiers, the Sasquatch Brigade, have repelled another Michigan invasion force on the shores of Lake Superior at great cost to their own lives.
That's good news, Critter Bob, because I hear they've converted the old defunct GM motor plants in Detroit into factories that make tanks and planes that are aiming to wipe out the country of Minnesota and the country of Wisconsin. And we happen to be something that stands in the way of Michigan's objectives. And that is a problem, Critter Bob.
Exactly.
In other news, Critter Bob's going to report on a recent development in a good old country across the pond. That's Great Britain.
Alrighty. So, King Arthur, the once and future king, is once more the King of England. After appearing from his tomb, wherever that may be in England, he disposed Queen Elizabeth II and proceeded to give a long, lengthy speech in front of Buckingham Palace. We'll go to our correspondent, Robert Willards, right now.
Hello, this is Robert Willards tuning in with BBC World News. I'd like to report here on the events going on at Buckingham Palace. It seems King Arthur, the once and future king, has once again returned from the grave. Prophecies fulfilled and magical inclinations aside, this is quite shocking to the people of England, especially after the deposition of their beloved Queen Elizabeth, who has been the monarch of England for nearly half a century. It seems King Arthur wants change. He wants something, we're not sure what, because his speech is given in an archaic form of English, which is unintelligible to the modern Englishman. People around the country are puzzled, but King Arthur seems driven to do something. We're not sure what it is yet. However, experts have concluded that it is very likely that he will try to re-establish the Knights of the Round Table. Signing out, this has been Robert Willards.
Sorry, Robert, but thank you. Anyways, that's great news.
Critter Bob.
What?
I'm not sure. King Arthur? This is weird. There's a lot of people coming back from the dead today. I mean, you know, it happens, especially here in Minnesota. It happens all the time. You know, people, they think they're dead. They're frozen in the tundra. They're frozen in a lake, whatever. They come back. But this is weird. In England, we're talking Beverly Hills. We got Dean Martin come back. It's weird stuff, Critter Bob. It's weird stuff. It's real weird. Real weird.
You're starting to kind of freak me out here.
Well, I'm sorry. Let's move on. with our most important story, we're going to talk about old Mrs. Patterson.
Right, old Mrs. Patterson. What about her?
Old Mrs. Patterson, over in Laverne, Minnesota, lost her cat Robbie. She couldn't find him, she looked everywhere, and after a few hours of searching, she eventually found him stuck in a tree. Now the kind, wonderful people, members of the fire and police departments of Laverne, Minnesota, appeared eventually, after several more hours, and rescued the cat from the tree. Ladders, fire trucks, everything. It was a glorious scene. And in recent days, Mrs. Patterson has spent all of her time cooking a gigantic batch of cookies to give to the police department and the fire department of Laverne, Minnesota. And oh boy, are they good cookies.
Well, that just warms my heart.
It warms my heart too, Critter Bob, and it makes me a little bit hungry.
All right, one last piece of news for you Minnesotans out there. Did you ever watch Gonzo Double Gonzo back in the 80s? The show in which Hunter S. Thompson and Ted Nugent teamed up to fight crime?
Darn straight, Critter Bob. We all watched that show.
That was a great show.
Oh,
and I've got some good news for all of you fans out there. The ghost of Hunter S. Thompson and Ted Nugent will be reuniting to make a Gonzo Double Gonzo reunion special just in time for Christmas.
You're freaking me out, Critter Bob. That's the third person we've got coming back from the dead today.
That occurred to me as I said the ghost of Hunter S. Thompson.
It's weird. It's real weird. It's real weird.
That is real weird.
It's weird. Anyway, thanks for tuning in to News Hour on AM 571. That's Minnesota's only radio station. This is Cougar Jeff and
Critter Bob
signing out.